Welcome to Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and today let's make a little tote bag out of one fat quarter. Okay, and we're going to need a cereal bowl. To make this project, we will need one fat quarter, and a fat quarter is approximately 22 inches by 18 inches. Take that fat quarter and iron on a fusible interfacing. It can be a lightweight or a medium weight. So the one side has this glue dots on it. Just place it down and fuse that on. That's just going to give the bag some body. And I did overlap it just to fill that whole piece. We do want to start with this fabric with the interfacing on it and it being well pressed. So we have that 22-inch side and that 18-inch side. If you do have a little selvage, we're going to want to omit that because we do not want it to show up in any of our seams. So fold your fabric in half so that you're going to be able to trim that off, and then make sure you have two pieces exactly the same size, and it doesn't matter the size. Mine is going to be approximately 11 inches by 18 inches. Once those two pieces have been trimmed to the same size, place them together, right sides facing. And I need to find the halfway mark. And really the easiest way is to fold this, do a little finger press, and then I'm going to be able to draw a line down the center and do the same for this side. Once we have that center, draw over 1 inch and 1 inch for the other side. So we're going to have a 2-inch mark. Then we're going to need our bowl. My bowl is approximately 7 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to be putting it right along this area, but I do want to center it. We can either get that half measurement by measuring the bowl or just draw a circle, cut that circle out, fold it in half, and fold it in half again. That center line will line up to this center point. And now I can mark those edges and do it to the other side. Now I can just take that bowl, line it up to that 1 inch mark. We could center it because we have those marks, and draw. And slide it to the other side and do the same. This area is going to be the handle, so this will be cut out. But before we do any sewing, let's mark the corners at 1 inch squares. I'll just take that ruler and mark 1 inch on all 4 corners. This is all the marking we're going to need to do, and we only need to do it on one side. So place those pieces together, line them up, put a couple of pins to hold them. Now we can take this to the sewing machine and sew right on those curves. I would recommend using small stitches at approximately a 2. Back stitch here, stitch all the way around, and back stitch again. Those small stitches are going to be good and strong, and it's going to help turn those corners really easily. So all we're doing are 2 rows of stitching. Once those are stitched, we need to trim a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're trimming into this circle. Trimming this after just makes it a lot easier to sew in the first place. And the seam allowance doesn't need to be perfect. Now we're going to take the end of the scissors and snip, going really close to that line of stitching. We don't want to go into the stitching, just close. And we're going to do that all the way around that circle on both sides. So we have all of these little pieces. If you have a pair of pinking shears, you can use pinking shears instead. So either method works fine. That pinking shear sort of gives us notches all the way around, or we've cut out our notches. Now cut out your 4 corners. Remove your pins and turn this right side out. So we're going to have that same shape but it looks good on both sides, and that's going to be the handle. So take time and press out those seams so they're nice and flat. Fold the bag in half. Lift up the top piece. Lift up that bottom piece. So we will have two right sides on one side, the two right sides on another, and that handle is in between on one side. Line up those seams and stitch on both sides. Be sure to back stitch for some strength. And this will be the bottom, so we need to close off one bottom. And then on the other one, we're going to need to leave an opening. So we're going to just stitch a little bit here. We now have those 4 seams done, and it won't matter which side we leave open. We will need to close up these bottoms. So the seams are going to match. Just pull them apart, nestle those seams, and do a seam allowance. And I would recommend a 1/4 inch backstitch, go over and backstitch. We want to do all 4 corners. The interfacing is optional, but it does give it a good shape. And you can see where it sort of looks like a balloon right now. We do have that one opening, and we're going to be able to pull everything out through that hole. And straighten up all those seams. And all we need to do is close off this bottom seam. And I would recommend doing a row of top stitch all the way around both sides of that handle. And that's all there is to these little bags. This fabric is an old Fat Quater from Timeless Treasures, and I chose this spring color because this is a great little bag for children to use for their Easter egg hunt. They look like they're small bags, but they really can hold a lot. I used to make these when I did some knitting and crocheting because I could hold them in my arm. The wool would sit in here and it gave me my hands free, and my wool was always where I needed it to be. It's also nice for little toys. And if you want, you can make that handle a little bit skinnier. You can make it 1.5 inches, even 1 inch. This little bag started with only 1 Fat Quater, but you can always change that size. It can be longer, wider. What we're just looking at is having this opening by using a bowl. Now that bowl size can change. It's not that important, the size of the bowl you use. You can interface it, or if you want it softer, just leave the interfacing out. Now I've made this bag for an Easter egg hunt, but I'm wondering what you would use the bag for. Thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I do have a newsletter, all under Sew Very Easy. I'll put it in the description below. And come on back. Let's see what we're working on next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.